Hi, and welcome everyone to another episode of Dance to the Music. If you've listened so far on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, thank you very much. If you haven't, please do so. You can subscribe, comment, and subscribe. It's all free. Today, I can't recall at this point what episode this is. Doesn't matter. I have a very special guest today. Someone who has providing us with tunes for a minute now, the one and only Belinda Becker. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to the show. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Great, thank you. It's a little hot today, so if you see us sweating, forgive us. You were if I did all my research correctly, you're born and raised in Jamaica.
Yes.
Into, I believe, a very musical family. Do you remember your first musical memory?
I think that's a very hard thing for me to remember because there was always music in our house because my dad collected music. So I don't remember not listening to music. I don't remember a moment in my life where I don't see my dad's records and I don't hear, whether, one of his favorite artists was Dave Brubeck. He listened to the Beatles, Bob Marley. He had very, wide and varied tastes. But, yeah, I literally don't remember not listening to music.
Oh, wow. Okay. Was there a time where it kind of turned into, like not music as something that is always there, but something that clicked and something that it's something bigger than just being there and always around you where you don't even think?
Well, I started my dance career pretty young, so that's sort of when music started taking on a larger importance than just something to listen to, because as a dancer, of course, music is so important.
Right.
And so that's kind of my first love of music was through dancing. And, I wasn't like a professional dancer until I came to New York, but I always took dance classes and, went to clubs. I was just a club head. And I think my first real desire, and also back then everybody collected, I thought everybody collected music. So I had my own little record collection because my dad collected music and it was vinyl. I started collecting it, so I had a tiny little collection. And, that's how you bought songs. You bought albums and, that was the way. And then when I moved to New York, a friend of mine took me to Paradise Garage, and I heard Larry Levan spin, and it was just a completely sort of eye-opening moment for me because I saw what a DJ was capable of doing, like this. He basically was like a shaman, I saw the way he was able to manipulate the crowd. People would be crying on that dance floor, literally, with the way he manipulated sound, and also because the system in there was insane. It was put in, I think, by Richard Long, who is, very well known as one of the best providers of sound in New York. So that kind of got me thinking, like, oh, that's interesting, to be able to sort of marry my two loves, because it was music and dance, that I saw there.
Was there, if you don't mind me asking, what was your original reason to come to the state, or New York specifically, to come to the States?
I graduated because my mom had remarried an American when I was a teenager, so we moved to the States. But we moved to Florida. I graduated with a journalism degree, and I just came to New York thinking I was going to write. That was my goal. And of course, it's not that easy to get a job at any of those magazines when you have no experience. So I ended up having to work in nightclubs, and that's kind of where it all started. And but yeah, I had every intention of like becoming, this fabulous writer here in New York.
Well, there's still time. You can still be a fabulous writer.
Yes, that is true.
See? You're a writer and you're fabulous. There you go. Okay, so, but like you said, you had your love for dance and you were a dancer, and there was always the love for music. And then can I assume, or am I wrong with saying that did you come to New York also to be like an artist? That's a lot of people, including myself, have this romantic notion of like, I have this art, even though we all have to work and we have to make a living in any other fields other than our art, mostly in the beginning, hopefully not for too long. Was there ever, did you ever have this thought of like, I want to be an artist and New York is the place for me to be that?
Yeah, I mean, I think New York was always that place, even when I was going to college and thinking about where I wanted to go after I graduated. New York just kind of, I'm like, that's where I need to go. And, although I have a degree in journalism, I always thought of myself as an artist. But also coming from, like a pretty strict Jamaican household, those are not considered real careers, so it was kind of like, no, you have to have like a real career. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I like writing, whatever, it's still an art, but that kind of makes more sense to my mom. So, that's what I did. But then when I came to New York and I was like, oh, there are actually people just doing their art, And yeah, it just gave me a whole new perspective. I'm like, they're painters, they're singers, dancers, actors. They're all here. So it was, I just felt that it was the right place for me.
When did you start DJing then? Since music has been around for you way before you came to New York.
It was, I tell this story very often, but it was very much by accident because I was working in this club. It was called Area. And there were two rooms. There was a main room, and the main room was Johnny Dynell, Timmy Regisford. And then there was a back room, which was kind of a lounge. And sometimes they had a DJ, and sometimes they didn't. And then I think the DJ for the lounge quit, and I think the manager sort of was like, does anybody know any DJs? We don't have a DJ for the lounge. And then I thought, I'm like, I've got records. I like music. I'm in the lounge, so it can't be that bad. And that's literally how I started. I was just like, I can do it.
So, what's the saying? Closed mouths don't get fed?
And to be honest, my boyfriend at the time used to be a DJ in Zurich, so he kind of showed me the basics. And Johnny Dynell, because he was a DJ on the main floor. And Justin Strauss was there too. Johnny gave me a few pointers, because I literally knew nothing. Like I didn't know about transitioning, mixing, pitch, nothing. I knew nothing. So I got the basics from them. And then, that's how I started my DJ career in the back room of Area, the lounge.
Where was Area Lounge and what part of the
Varick.
Scene? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So downtown Manhattan.
Okay. So did you then catch the bug immediately and you was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do? Because the reason I'm asking, you're also an actress and, like you said, dancer. So there's a lot of artistic expressions in your life. Was any of them, always like had priority over the other?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say that during my life, they've taken priority, because there was a period where I was only acting. And, I was living in Europe, I was making films over there and doing theater, and I wasn't DJing. I was DJing every once in a while, but you know. And also with dance, I ended up joining a company. We were touring the world, so that kind of took precedent. So it's kind of, I've just literally made my living as an artist and just, you know, done whatever it was that was working for me at the moment. If it was acting, I was doing that. If it was dance, there I was on tour. If it was DJing, that's what I was doing.
Amazing, a Renaissance woman. See? Yeah. Talking about DJing, since it's called Dance to the Music and it kind of combines both, how has your approach from DJing back then to now, if it has changed, how has it changed? I'm sure there's maybe different variations throughout the years.
Yeah. Wow, that's an interesting question. So I started as a lounge DJ, so it was more like a listening, chill vibe. Then I moved to Nell's. You know, that was my second gig, was Nell's downstairs. And that was like a crazy active dance floor.
Heard about Nell's.
Yeah.
I've never been
Yeah.
before my time.
So Nell's was like, okay, this is dance all night, got it, you know? So obviously I had to sort of, but I've always been an open format DJ, always. But the emphasis there at Nell's and for the beginning of my career was dance music because, you know, house was huge. Then, you know, hip hop started making its mark, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s. So incorporated that. Reggae and dancehall were huge. So that kind of, I mean, I'm still kind of doing all of that, you know, but I do remember, you know, just late night house, you know, that was it, you know, you ended the night with a whole house music set, you know.
Oh, you ended it. You ended the night. Okay. I have a question here. What role does dance play in your life? We've already covered that in a sense. It plays a big role. However, when you're DJing, what role does it play? In other words, I sometimes ask people, what are they looking for on the dance floor while they are playing? Is there anything in particular that you pay attention to when you're playing music for other people? Anything that you need? Some people need people in front of them in order to feed off their energy. Some people don't.
Well, I definitely need people because, yeah, that's part of the exchange as a DJ. You know, you want that energy from them. So I definitely need that. I need, and I need drums.
Live drums or just drums in the song?
But drums in the song too. Because when I finally settled on my dance career, it was Afro-Caribbean dance, where the drum is very, very, very important. So I've even seen, you know, my whole kind of style of DJing, it's very sort of, yeah, it's a bit drum-based, you know, like those are the songs that I'm attracted to. And, you know, I love like afro-house, amapiano, afro-beats, just anything with that. It's like the heartbeat. Mm-hmm. It's the heartbeat for me. So I'm very attracted to rhythm, you know, those types of rhythm.
Mm-hmm. Do you have I was going to say a crew, but like, do you have a certain crew of people, you know, they always show up for you and you're like, I know that person. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. They don't have to show up for you. But like, you know, when you see them, they're like, oh, okay, I know what to do. Or like, it's kind of like, you know, a connection where you know what to play in order for them to give you that energy that you're looking for.
I mean, I play in so many sort of different environments. And I've been doing it for so long. I mean, I used to have a crew. I mean, now my crew's my age and they got kids and you know what I'm saying? They're not really hanging out. My daughter and her friends like to come to my sets. I don't know how to put this, but I'm just sort of I'm the DJ that you go to if you don't want to hear super commercial music. You know, if you are into alternative R&B, alternative hip hop, you know, classics. I just, you know, because I was that DJ for so long, you know, just sort of playing what everybody else was playing and the hits and whatever, that after this whole time, I'm just interested in hearing new music and sharing new music, but it still has to have that heartbeat, you know? So my daughter, you know, she really appreciates the way I play, so she brings her crew to my gigs. And so every time I see them, I'm like, whew, okay, you know? Now I know exactly who I'm playing for, you know?
That's dope. That's dope. Besides your personal approach in DJing, you said you've been playing for so long. I have two questions. I only had one, but now I have. So my first question would be, how have you seen a change of the dance floor, not just of like demographics, but also of the behavior of people? And then hopefully I remember the second question. Let's just start right there.
Well, yeah, because when I started in the late 80s, we didn't have social media and we didn't have cell phones. So people were there to dance. And people were there to be free and allow themselves to be. Now there are cameras everywhere. You know, people are actually standing. Now it's like DJ as rock star, you know? So you go somewhere. I mean, I went, I'm not going to name places because I'm still trying to work. You know, I went to see this DJ that I really love, and I was like, this is going to be great. You know, I put on my sneakers, and I got to the place, and literally everybody was just standing on the dance floor, facing the DJ with their phones out. And that's sort of the energy that I see in a lot of places that I go. And yeah, you know, we never went to, because everything has become for almost like consumption, you know? Like, we went to experience. You know, people go here to get a story or a reel for Instagram. People go there to self-promote, to, you know, it's just a whole different, you know, environment on the dance floor right now. And I'm not saying that there are not places that you can go and you still have those moments. You still do. But in general, the whole nightclub culture has changed.
Is there anything that, because the cell phone, social media part is a reoccurring theme, and DJs as well as party goers, I like to call them, you know, there's some people who are for banning cell phones on the dance floor, and there are venues that even like you can't use it. I agree with that, right? But I don't think that that's the only answer. I personally think that there's, like you said, people came for an experience, and I think sometimes the cell phone is one thing, but also the intention of why you're there is the other thing.
Exactly.
Do you have, besides that, do you have any ideas or any, I guess, wishes sometimes where like, I wish I could do it this way to have, not to bring back the old times, but to maybe change that social media performance part of it?
Yes. Very often I have those thoughts. And as I said, you know, I don't want to come across as, you know, well, back in my day.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
You know, but I just do notice that whenever I get together with my friends and we're hanging out, we're not on our cell phones, you know. We're vibing, we're dancing, we're, you know, communing, we're having this beautiful experience. And it's like, why can't we just have this all the time, you know? Like, this is, like, you're going out for some, you know, why are you going out? Isn't it for this?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, what I found though, because I've played many venues, like, and I really find that I prefer smaller venues, because I feel like people in smaller venues are kind of more homogenous, and they actually are there for something special, like when I play events like in people's houses, and then the dance floor is just going crazy, because it's just them, their friends, So I do find, I have done some really fun events, but, and I've gone to a few fun events, but I just find the whole culture just a tiny bit depressing.
I can understand that. The question though is, I personally always ask myself, like, where is this going, meaning social media, right? Like, personally, I think, like, okay, what's next? And then do you have any, I don't know, hope, idea that, well, maybe people are going back to just putting their phone away, or like, because at some point it's going to get tired, no? Maybe this really subjective, I'm putting my opinion out there.
I'm, because a lot of people make a lot of money off of social media.
Okay, there you go. See, shut me down.
So I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. But I do think that there is starting to be a desire to be in the moment and to have an experience. I see people kind of seeking that out more and more. Even the return to vinyl is something that, people were saying, that's never going to happen once we, get to the digital age. That's it for vinyl. And now how many vinyl bars are there all over the world and in New York? And I think, what is it for? It's for an experience. People still want to have experiences, and I think sometimes we get caught up in this kind of consumer culture, everything is there to, to be monetized and, consumed and whatever. And I've been to, I've DJ'd at places where I actually see people come in, they sit down, they order a drink, they take pictures of the drink, they take pictures of themselves laughing, and then they leave. And that is their experience, And then, when you see their reel, it's like, oh my God, they had such a great time, but all they did was just like go from club to bar to club for these little snippets, and they put it together, and then there you have the fabulous life.
What everybody thinks is fabulous. Yeah. It's kind of sad, but again, subjective. It's my opinion.
I know, I'm probably like killing my career single-handedly here.
Oh, absolutely not. I want to go back to something, my second part of the question, something where you said you played, you always open format, but you played more commercial music. And then was there a conscious decision at some point to say, I'm going to play maybe something that is not necessarily top 40 right now, but I want to play whatever I like. Maybe, I don't know, call it being an eclectic DJ. And if that was a conscious decision, was there something specific that sparked that decision?
I think it's because of the length of time I've been DJing. Okay. So what's a classic to maybe you or a younger DJ, I just never want to hear again, ever.
Understood.
So, even like those quote unquote like throwback parties or whatever, I'm not terribly interested in them because I've been playing that music, I've heard that music. Every time one of those songs come on, I'm like, I've heard this 150 million times. I'm actually, it's just sort of like the trajectory my career has taken me on, I just want to get away from those standards because I can't play them anymore. I just literally can't play them anymore. And I actually was talking to this guy who wants me to do a little brunch thing for him, and he's like, no classics, no, and I'm like, I got you. You know, because we're about the same age, and he's like, I just don't want to hear, you know, Before I Let Go One More Time.
That's exactly the song I was thinking about. I love the song, though.
I do too. It is a classic. Did I just say classic? But I don't want to play it. And I'm not saying I won't play it. I mean, there's always that moment where you can play it and it works and it's beautiful. I mean, it always works. You know, it always works because it is a crowd pleaser. But for me as a DJ, playing for over 30 years, I don't want to play it in every one of my sets, or very rarely, you know? So going forward, I have almost become a DJ, because I know DJs, you know, construct their sets where it's like, you know, it's popular song, little unknown, popular song, popular, and I'm just the opposite. It's just like unknown, 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 oh, you know this, unknown, you know, remix of that, blah, blah, blah. I'm not looking to do any kind of conventional commercial set right now. And those are the DJs that interest me, and that's the music that interests me. You know, I'm listening to music, you know, out of England. I'm listening to all of like the new, you know, R&B singers from there. I'm listening to, you know, as I said, amapiano. I'm listening to afro-beats. I'm listening to all the, you know, mixes, and in between, I'm listening to drum and bass. I'm just listening to everything because, you know, this one manager told me, and to me, this is my one forever compliment that I love, love, love. And he's like, you're the DJ that plays music that people don't know they want to hear.
Yeah, I understand. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, thank you. He's like, people might not know any song in your set, but they'll still leave like, damn, that was a groovy set, that, you know. And I think, you know, the secret, or the, you know, the reason I think I can do that is because I just, you know, I think I know good music, so it doesn't have to be something you've heard 150 times before, you know? And that's all, you know, and as I said, the other compliment I always get is like, people are like, damn, I sat there shazamming like every song you played, you know? And that's what I want, you know? I want people to come up and be like, who's this remix? Who did this? Who's this artist, you know? Because that's how you make the field open. That's how you open up the field, you know?
Was that, asking kind of a similar question, was that ever a challenge when you made that decision to maybe, or maybe I should ask differently, was there ever a pressure that you felt like you have to play a certain way in order to get jobs, in order to get work? And that could be, you know, throughout the years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you know, what you have to do as just a, you know, smart or working DJ is you have to know where you can play those sets. I mean, obviously, if I'm doing a wedding, it's not going to be like esoteric underground, you know, like, what the hell is this? No, you know, I'm not going to do that. So it really depends on who you're playing for, and that's always important to me. I'm like, when I book a gig, I'm like, who's the audience, what kind of music, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of times clients say, oh, we want to hear this, and then you get there and that's not what they want to hear, because their perception of what is what they want to hear. It's not necessarily what the people there want to hear. So I always say to people, please send me some examples of what you want to hear or what your friends want to hear, so I can get an idea of actually what you're talking about. But because I have residencies, which has also sort of allowed me to hone that craft, because when you have a residency, because I've been at Dumbo House, I think 7 years, and I'm there every Sunday. I cannot come in and play the same set every Sunday. Yes, I know there are different people there, but the staff, I don't want to kill them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So having residencies automatically makes you have to dig deeper, search harder, be more creative, because you can't play in the same place week after week, year after year with the same music and the same set. So that has kind of honed my skills of like not, you know, of just not going that commercial or whatever route and digging a little deeper and mixing a little bit more interestingly, you know.
Was there ever a time in your career where you felt, and you don't have to answer it because I feel like this might not be a positive time, but was there ever a time where you felt jaded and you're like, I'm done with DJing?
Oh yeah.
How to get out of this? Well, it could, you know, probably more than once, but is there something that if you do have a moment, how do you get out of that, I guess, mindset of like, oh God, everything is annoying?
I think for me, it's just because I love music. Always have, always will. You know, I mean, like, I will go home and just play music, you know, like, oh, I want to just like try some mixes. I want to do this. I want to, you know. So as long as that love is there, I kind of just write it out. I have to write it out because I'm like, do I really want to stop this? And I don't. You know, so, and there are also periods in musical history that I was like, ugh, and to be really honest, and I know just not, it's not the best thing to be. I never jumped on like the trap and drill bandwagon. So, you know, a lot of times when that was really popular, you know, I just wasn't getting booked because I just couldn't play that, you know, it just didn't speak to me. And not that I have anything against it. I mean, I've heard trap and drill songs that I really love and whatever, but just for me as a DJ, and also, you know, just, yeah, musically, I just needed something a tad bit more sophisticated to play. So, you know, so that whole moment where that was really huge, I was just like, I cannot play here. This is just not for me. But then, as I said, if you write it out, you know, because everything changes, you know, and it's still there. I mean, you can still go to trap and drill and whatever, but, you know, house music's making a huge comeback. Amapiano's out there, you know, there's a whole, you know, there's a beautiful music scene kind of springing up now that I'm very excited to see. So I just say, if you feel jaded, but you love music, write it out. It will ebb and flow, just like life.
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience is the secret,
Yeah.
the not so secret. I got it. Okay. I wanted to ask you, since you're, my last thing I want to do is date people. However, you said DJing for more than 30 years, and you're a role model to some of us. I do, and now there's not just a lot of DJs, now there's also a lot of, even though I myself hated to say female DJs, but there are way more women than they used to probably. How was it when you started to compare to now? And sometimes when I ask women this question, I could either there's two spectrums. There's not in between. Some people like, I was never really had a bad experience, or they go through all the textbook cliche experiences that can be. I wonder how, if you can generalize it, how your experience was throughout your career.
You know, both good and bad. When I started in 1987. So that was...
Okay, yeah, you said you went to the garage, so
yeah.
I'm like, okay.
So there were very few women DJs on the scene. I think maybe, you know, there was Anita Sarko, and she was more doing sort of rock, punk, you know, new wave, that type of vibe. Then I think there was Mary Mack, there might have been Spinderella. There were very few, and then there was kind of me, like on the, just, you know, the kind of club scene. So, you know, when I started, you know, I got a lot of like, well, let's see what you can do, you know. Oh, you know, you're cute, but, you know, what can you do, you know? So there was a lot of like skepticism or whatever. So I constantly, like every new venue, I had to keep proving myself that I actually knew what I was doing. And, you know, I've had some, you know, had horrible experiences where, you know, as I said, once again, I'm not going to name names. You know, I was switching over from, there was an early like hip hop party, and there were all these like big hip hop DJs there. And then I was transitioning to my set, you know. And yeah, I messed up on the transition. Don't we all? I mean, is there any DJ out there that can say 100% of the times when I transition, it's flawless? Hell no.
No. All the favorites have. I've heard them all.
Oh, hello. So it was not the cleanest transition. And one of the DJs actually got on the mic and made fun of my transition.
Wow. Are you going to name that person to me off camera then? Okay, thank you.
And I was like, wow, that's some misogynistic BS right there, you know. And literally a few years later, I did see him out, and he actually apologized to me. He's like, that was not a nice thing to do. And I'm like, no, it wasn't, you know, because it's like, you know, you're starting out, welcome us. You know, why this? But even today, I still feel, sometimes, you know, like if I'm switching to a DJ that I don't know and it's a guy, I do feel some kind of weird competitive weirdness. I do. Up to today. So there, you know, as big a stride as we've made in the DJing field, there's just, you know, there's a lot of competitive energy, and it's okay to be competitive, but I just, you know, don't have it spill out into your interactions. You know, I'm just like, be kind. You know, I'm always the one who is like, whenever you're ready to go, let me know, I'll transition. You know, I've been to so many gigs and they're like, oh, one more song. Oh, I'm just gonna play one more song. Oh, you know, or they show up 20 minutes late, like, oh, you know, I'm always on time. I'm there if you need me. If you have questions about the equipment, I'm like, oh, this is how this works, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm just like, but this kind of arrogance and ego that still exists is just like, it's still there.
It's sad. It's sad, and that
You know.
there's still so much room for improvement. Let's put it that way, mildly.
No, I keep telling, I mean, and I saved that video because I really loved it, you know, like the first time that I opened for Ron Trent because Roy Ayers was playing at Knockdown Center. And, you know, so I was the opening DJ. And like the transition between Ron and I was just so smooth and so brilliant because he's just a lovely man, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I watch it every so often and I'm like, this is the way life should be. This is the way life should be.
Besides these many negative experiences, in compared to like women and male DJs, what if you have other challenges in that, I guess, still entertainment industry that are still there and don't need to be there? If you still come across any challenges.
I mean, I'm just trying to think. I think that, you know, everything keeps changing, you know, sort of trends keep changing, blah, blah, blah. So I think a lot of times, you know, people just sort of, you know, like, oh, well, nah, you know, that she's the new hot DJ and, you know, she can mix, you know, with her behind, so we're gonna use her. And, or no, he has 50,000 followers on social media, so we're gonna go with him, you know? So I think sometimes I come across the issue of just not being chosen because you are the best candidate for the job.
I see. All the other reasons that are important Okay, I understand. And then again, what would be an advice? Just write it out and then.
I always say, I get the jobs that are meant for me, and I strongly believe that. Like whoever comes to hire me and decides that I'm the DJ, then that's the job that I deserve. Because if it's based on my social media presence or my followers, and if that's all you want, then I'm not the DJ for you.
Well said, yeah. Is there any, I guess, general, if somebody would want to start to DJ in 2024, or actually not just DJ, start to pursue their creative career in this day and age, is there any general advice that you would give them? And then maybe something more specific if they want to start it here in New York City.
Well, I just have to say you better just love it. You have to, because it is difficult, because I moved to New York with $800. You can't do that anymore.
Oh God, that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. So as the kind of like struggling artist coming here, I don't really think that exists anymore. You gotta have, family, money, invest something in order to move to New York and find a decent place and blah, blah, blah. So my advice is if you really love what you do, then stick with it. And I don't know if New York is the first place you should come because it's difficult. And to be honest, I don't know about the rest of the markets, but I do feel as if the DJ market is quite oversaturated at this moment. I think there are just a lot of DJs. So it's just hard to make those inroads, it's hard to find those places that, will allow you to kind of hone your craft.
Yeah, I also, thinking back, I can only imagine, right, that when you started there, with all the challenges, there was still, and with no social media and phones, you kind of had the ability to take your time with learning your craft.
Exactly.
Or there was no expectations for you to be a superstar tomorrow. Whereas I'm not quite sure if that is still the case. Maybe a lot of people, they start and then think, not just think tomorrow I should be here, but also I guess society is expecting them to be. I'm not quite sure where the relationship is between what society expects and what the artist who starts today to DJ.
I think it's exactly what you said. People are just expected to just start and just like fly to the top, with their. But as I said, it's not so much based on talent as it is on sort of like like what the smoke and mirrors, what the appearance is, because when I started out as a DJ, the way I got jobs was, I guess I was cute or whatever, but if I was a horrible DJ, I wouldn't have worked, It's like I actually got booked because people thought I was a good DJ. There's so many DJs that get booked because, as I said, of so many other outside factors and not necessarily, what they can do, And I don't want to sound like a hater because, believe me, there are a lot of amazing women DJs out there who have, amazing choice in music, amazing skills, whatever, and I applaud them all. But there's also a subset out there that literally sort of relies on their, as I said, their like influencer, social media status to work, and it works for them.
I guess that's not the venues where we want to go to anyway. Maybe, I don't know. No, not you. What are some of, you said you've been at Dumbo, you have a residency now for 7 years. Are there some projects or any creative endeavors, it doesn't have to be creative, that you have in the future that you would like to share?
I'm a big believer of like not talking about things until they happen.
I hear you.
Right.
You don't have to.
There are a few things I have, sort of up my sleeve, but I just want to make sure that they come to fruition before I talk about them.
Understood. Completely understood.
Yeah.
I have only one more question, and that is, I ask every guest if they could name me 3 songs that they relate to dance. And this is always mostly the hardest questions.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there's so many different genres, for me, because I am an open format DJ. But I think for me, one of them is definitely because by Stevie Wonder. Because every single time I've experienced that on a dance floor, it's almost like a spiritual experience.
Yeah, I can't listen to the song without crying.
Right.
So I yeah, I understand.
And I have so many beautiful memories of being on the dance floor and sort of like maybe ending the night to that song or when it comes on, and it's magical. Just so many great house music anthems, though. Just so many. I love the Whistle Song by Frankie Knuckles. Yeah. And I know it's played out and whatever, but DJ Spinner's version of Days Like This.
Yeah. It has been mentioned here before, and for a reason.
Yeah.
Shout out to DJ Spinner, which, if you see my
Yes.
shirt.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a special song.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was 3, I believe, unless you want to name me another one.
No, I just have so much music in my head. I think I'll stick with that.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to get off your chest that I haven't asked you about? And I know there's probably a lot, but something that
I would just like to see a little bit more peace in the world and more community, more communion, more love, more dance, more togetherness.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
That was really nice. I just, we had a conversation before we pressed record, so we can talk about a lot of things. And we could sit here for 2 more hours, but we try to stick to the topic. So thank you for the audio listeners or for the people watching the video. Thank you again for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe button. Just because you can. And check out Belinda Becker. Where can we see you live? And also, where can we follow you on social media, our friend?
Well, yes. Why, yes. I'm at Yard Gal on Instagram. That's probably the best way to find me. And I list all my my events. So just check my page. And I list my weekly and monthly residencies and all the events that I do in between. So, Yard Gal.
Thank you. You heard it here. Thank you again for coming.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Bye.